Hey there everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to say real quick, in case you didn't notice or didn't know, I have changed the name of my channel to Courageous Creativity Arts. So I just wanted to let you know it's still me, Emily, and I was previously Emily's Art Journey. So I just wanted to point that out for you. And welcome to another video in my Wheel of the Year series. We are celebrating Lughnasadh, or Lammas, and it is the first harvest festival, and it takes place on August 1st, and it's the halfway point between the summer solstice and the fall equinox. So I just thought it would be fun to celebrate that with some artwork. And what we're going to do, it's like a berry harvest right now with blackberries and raspberries. My blackberry vines have like exploded this year. It's absolutely insane. We've had so much rain, they're just everywhere. But I thought, because I've already done a blackberry, we would actually do raspberries. I thought we would paint a raspberry jam jar. We're going to keep it super simple. Anybody could do it. Just grab some watercolors, some fine liners. We're going to outline it first, and then we're going to bring in just a couple layers of paint, and then potentially bring in just a few colored pencils, maybe to deepen some of the shadows. But I want to keep this just super simple. Anybody could do it. Just a fun, quick little painting. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm using my Schmincke watercolor set. I haven't used this one in a while, so I just thought I'd grab it. I have just a plethora of brushes, just so I can grab what I want. And then I am using I think it's Molotow, I don't know how to pronounce it, black liners, and I have 0.5, 0.7, and 1.0. It's always important to use different line weights just to add interest, so you don't want to have everything be exactly the same. So I'm going to use a little bit of a heavier line weight on the little fabric piece, and then a little bit of a less line weight on the actual jar. So let's go ahead and just get started. I've kind of just done like a loose pencil outline, and I will have my jar available to you to print and trace if you want to. It will be in the description box of this video. So I kind of made it so you can see the top of the jar a little bit. And I'm just kind of doing sketchy lines. I don't necessarily need like a super hard line. Just a super easy, loose bow, not really trying to make it perfect. This is just a nice little illustrative, kind of sketchy painting with a little bit of fabric. And then you can make your jelly jar really any shape you wanted. I kind of just like the little chunky fat one, so I thought I would go with that. And I can never make both sides the same. I don't know if anybody can. The struggle is real. And then I'm going to kind of duplicate that, because a jar has a little bit of space in between it and whatever you're putting into it. So just a quick little line there. And I actually made that just as fat as that, but that's okay. And then I'm going to use a little bit of a finer liner to kind of trace the raspberry. And I'm just doing kind of squiggly lines because they have little bumps. And these are just super simple shapes. You'll get the gist of it because of the color. Again, I just wanted this to be a super simple, quick and easy painting. And then I'm going to put like it'd be sitting on a table or something. Like so. And I actually think I'm going to make this line even heavier. And then I already wrote this out, so I'm just going to go ahead, and I still am kind of learning lettering, so I really just kind of stick to my own handwriting right now, which is okay. It's pronounced Lughnasadh, even though it looks like Lughnasadh. And again, you could put Lammas if you want to. All right, get these out of the way. I do have a paper towel and some water off to the side as usual. I'm going to start with, I haven't used this one very often. It's a Princeton number 12. And I'm going to go ahead and start inside here. And I think I'm going to go ahead and get it wet first. And I did not erase the pencil lines. It's fine. Like I said, this is just supposed to be kind of a quick little illustrative cutesy little jam jar. And I'm gonna go straight into carmine red. We'll use a couple different reds. And you want it to kind of balloon out like that. That way you know you have enough water. And you always want to be pushing and pulling your paint in the same direction. And remember, wherever you put the water, that is telling the paint where to go. Just kind of staying inside my lines. And this is 100% cotton paper. It's just in a little sketchbook that I've used before in my videos. And then while it's still wet, I'm actually going to go into, it says it's kind of maroony. I don't have a lot of water on my brush because this is still wet. And I'm just going to kind of drop in a few little dots of that just to kind of make it look like there might be some seeds or some raspberries inside. And I'm actually going to go ahead and go back into that first color and do the same thing. And this is just a first quick layer. And that's all we're going to do for that. If you think it's too harsh, you can go in with just a very lightly damp brush and kind of go over the little splotches and just spread them out a little bit. This paper dries a little faster than the arches that I use, but that's okay. And I'm going to go ahead and repeat those same colors. And the little raspberries down here. I did not get it wet first. I am putting a little bit more water on my brush. That was a little heavy-handed. Just picked some of it up, kind of wiping it off to the side, and then just bringing in a little bit of plain water and just spreading around that paint that I already put down. And then maybe going up with just a little bit of that darker color in the center here, which would be like the opening, and then just a few little dots around because there is a texture. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit more. I'm going to paint these both at the same time since they're touching. Just making some squigglies around the edges since they're bumpy. Wiping off my brush, going in with that darker color again. And then I'm going to dry this really quick so I can do the top part here. And then I'll dry it again, and then we'll go back in and add a little bit more texture details. So I mixed a little bit of the violet and the carmine to make kind of a purpley red that I'm going to do this with, the fabric with. I did not get it wet first, but it's more of a wash, so it's fairly watery. I'm going to avoid the bow. And if you go over the bow, it's okay. You can always use like acrylic markers or something so that you can cover it up, or just use like a darker color and then that will also cover it up. Can go back in and kind of drop in a little bit of a concentrated so that you can start building up a little bit of the shading. Oh, I realized I colored in the string right here, but that's okay. Maybe a little bit darker where the little folds are. Just want to do it while it's still wet so it diffuses naturally. And you can make your fabric any color you wanted. I just didn't want to do both of them red. You could do blue or, any color you want. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the table, the ground, whatever you want to call it. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do that just straight purple. So I can just kind of repeat colors just to kind of make it all tied in together. And this is a bigger space, so I'm actually going to use my size 18. And I'm going to go ahead and just put on some water. I'm okay if I don't go all the way to the edges of the paper. I do not have it taped down this time. So if you put too much water, it can buckle a little bit. I added a little bit of indigo to the violet that I had just to deepen it a little bit. And then I'm just going to go in, kind of start dropping that in a little bit. And then if you don't want harsh edges, you can rinse your brush and you can just have it be a little bit damp and then just run your brush right along the edge of where you've laid that paint down and it'll soften that up for you. But then I'm going to go back in and drop a little bit more right around the berry to create a little bit of a shadow. And then also under the jar there would be the shadow. And now I'm just going around the edge of the jar with a light wash of that carmine red. And here I got a little bit dark, so you can get that wet a little bit and then take a paper towel. And then sometimes you can pick some of that up. Depending on the color and the paper you're using, it could be harder than others. There we go. And then I did pick up a little bit of that purple. So I'm going to go ahead and add some of that back in. And I decided to do this yellow. I like the contrast. They're opposites on the color wheel with the purple and the yellow. My brush just had a little bit of yellow on it still from when I mixed the color. So technically I'm really just trying to get it wet first. And then I'm going to go in with a little bit more concentrated. Just kind of dabbing it on a little bit. Again, this is kind of just a fast and loose painting. Try not to overthink it. Easier said than done, I know. We're not looking for perfection here. Just a way to kind of practice your watercolor skills and have a little bit of fun. All right, we're going to go back into the jam. And I am going to get it wet again first. You just have to remember when you already have watercolor down, you don't want to be fussy with it when you're getting it wet again. So you just go over it one time. You don't want to keep going over and over and over again, or you'll start picking up the paint you've already laid down. And then I'm going to go in with a mixture of the two reds that I had gotten, the maroon and the carmine. I do not have a lot of extra water on my brush. I'm just going to put like a little shadow line here and on one side of the jar, kind of rinsing my brush out. I had a lot of paint on it. A little bit darker there on the bottom. And I'm just going across that edge there with just a little bit of clean water. And then I'm going back in with that mixture over here on the side, just kind of dabbing my brush to make a little bit of a darker shadow on that side, maybe underneath again. And then I'm going to go in with that carmine again, a little bit more concentrated. You want to work quickly. I think it's actually already dry. So I'm going to go in and re-wet this part here. And then I'm going to go in and just do a little bit more of the dabbing, dropping in a concentrated carmine. So it's kind of like the seeds, or you can see some of the berries. And you can also go in with the shadow color just a little bit, add in a few more little dots. And I'm going to take my smaller brush and I'm going to do the same thing down here. But I'm going to go ahead and just go in first with that carmine and go over the whole berry again. And then go in with a darker color and go ahead and start adding some more of the little dots. Kind of going around the edges again. And then going in with that darker color where I would want the shadows. And also the little seeds to show. And I'm going to make a little bit of a shadow line on this berry because it's sitting behind this one. And then I'm going to go ahead and tackle this using a very light wash of the same color, basically. Just going over it again to deepen the color a little bit because it does fade quite a bit. And again, kind of putting a little bit darker where the little fold would sink in a little bit, and around the bow for the shadow. And then we could also go in with a little bit more of that yellow. I'm going to add a little bit of, I think it's chromium yellow, to the lemon yellow that I already had, just to deepen it in a tiny bit. And we'll do a little bit of a shadow being cast on this side here. I'm going to turn it upside down for just a second. I'm rinsing my brush. It's just slightly damp, and I'm just kind of going right along the edge there to soften that up. I have to turn it so that I can get the tip of my brush right on the edge. Now I'm not going to get anything wet. I'm just going to go straight in with a little bit of shadow colors and just add those in. You'll have to let me know if you celebrate Lughnasadh or Lammas, and if you do, what you do. It's a great time to bake bread, be out in nature, picking berries, just baking in general, having a picnic or a barbecue. I'm going to go back in as well with just a few little baby dots. Like I said, they could just be the seeds that you can see in the jar. And I did decide I'm going to go ahead and bring in a red Posca pen, and I'm going to make that the color of the bow. One thing to remember with acrylic markers is you always want to shake them with the lid on, because they can just go everywhere if you don't. And I think I'm going to go ahead and put a few little dots on here, like there's a little bit of a pattern on the cute little fabric. And you can even go in and add a few little dots and go around the berries. You can even use a little bit of a darker color if you want to, but I'm just making them red because, like I said, just a super simple, quick little painting. And then I'm using a white Posca pen to add like a little highlight on the jar and then kind of go in around the edges there. Again, just kind of sketchy. And we made this side dark and the light's coming from here, so I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of a highlight on that side. Maybe put a little bit of a highlight just on the little pieces of fabric that are sticking up. And we can even put a little bit of a highlight right on the top of the berry, and even a few little dots where the light would be hitting the little seeds as well. And then we can go back in and put a little bit more shading kind of under the berries. The shadow is what makes it look a little bit 3D, like it's coming off the page. And then we'll do a little bit more under the jar again too. Going to put just a little bit more of a shadow under the little string or ribbon, whatever you want to call it. And I will put all the supplies I'm using in the description box. I always do that, so in case you ever want to know, I will put that in there. And there we go. Just a super quick, cute little raspberry jam jar. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you celebrate, if you also create a jar, and if you do raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, whatever you want to do. And I really appreciate you tuning in. As always, if you're not following me, I hope you will consider subscribing to my channel. And I post 2 videos a month right now on Sundays. I try to do every other Sunday. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But again, thank you so much for being here. And until next time, be so well.